Hello there you guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just going to be officially updating you on some more current latest news. More news now is updated in the press and recording to the Times in the media. I've just basically read the Times. Reportedly, the Manchester United players are annoyed with Jose Mourinho's tactics, and they are annoyed about Jose Mourinho's reluctance to drop Nemanja Matic. So basically, to drop Nemanja Matic. So basically, the Manchester United players are annoyed about this. But for me, I'm disappointed about this situation because I really want Nemanja Matic to be dropped. He hasn't done all this season, especially I thought when he first came to United he did very, very well, but I think he's slow in his play, he hasn't got any tempo. The only good thing about Nemanja Matic, in my opinion, that he's very, very tall. In my opinion, but we know that Jose Mourinho does have a fantastic relationship with Nemanja Matic. I thought he was absolutely atrocious yesterday. Nemanja Matic, I thought he was absolutely atrocious yesterday. Against Manchester City, and Jose Mourinho spoke in his interview basically that he says it was defensive errors why City won the game. He says if you go on stats, people don't really understand football if you go by the stats. And he also said Marion Fellaini basically shouldn't be playing for 90 minutes. He also said Man United will not be relegated as well, and this is what Jose Mourinho has basically pronounced. In my opinion, Nemanja Matic needs to be definitely dropped because, in my opinion, in Nemanja Matic's place, Mourinho could put Fellaini there. Potentially, I don't rate Fellaini a lot. He could put Fred there, who he paid £50 million for during the summer window as well, who was hardly being given the opportunity. And he could also put Pereira there as well. So Mourinho, Mourinho deserves this criticism he's getting because tactically his game plan's wrong, his team selection's completely wrong. And I don't think Jose Mourinho potentially knows his current best 11. In my current opinion, he doesn't know his best 11. For me, this squad is good enough to get the top four this season, considering Jose Mourinho spent under £400 million on players. He's bought 11 players. We spent £1 billion in all the managerial areas yesterday. But, now in the league table, 4 defeats now in the league out of 12 games. We would probably lose that in a season, under the Alex Ferguson days, because we had great success under Alex Ferguson for nearly 3 decades. But for me, yesterday, Jose Mourinho tactically got it wrong. Why didn't Jose Mourinho start Sanchez? Why didn't Jose Mourinho start Mata from the start? He saved us in the Champions League midweek. Why didn't Jose Mourinho start Fred over Fellaini? He could have brought Fellaini on later in the game, which he admitted to. That's what he should have done. He spoke in his press conference about Fellaini reportedly ruined his game plan, but Nemanja Matic's performance was absolutely diabolical as well yesterday. And Mourinho basically in his press conference never mentioned a dicky bird about Nemanja Matic's performance because obviously Mourinho has got a good relationship with him because Mourinho's working with him now. He's also working the past with him at Chelsea as well, so Mourinho does have a lot of respect for Nemanja Matic. For me, he potentially needs to be dropped against Crystal Palace. A lot of Man United fans want to see him dropped. Mourinho did explain, due to Paul Pogba's absence, he had to put Fellaini, in Paul Pogba's position. But, he could have put Fred there. He could have put Pereira there, as he said. And I think, Marion Fellaini and Matic and Herrera as a midfield, they just look static, look lethargic in that midfield. There's no tempo. It looks far too slow in that midfield, with Matic and Marion Fellaini in the mid, as you saw yesterday. I don't understand why Mourinho didn't play Mata from the start. He should have played Fred. And Mourinho totally got the selection wrong yesterday, in my opinion. He is still potentially playing players out of position. Mourinho is getting a lot of criticism for this. But before we was outclassed yesterday. Gundogan, it was a 44 pass move for his third goal. Nemanja Matic was partly to blame for Manchester City's third goal as well. We're sitting 12 points from top, 7 points behind top four now. And we know Jose Mourinho's had disputes, especially with the top players, since he's arrived at Old Trafford. For me, I don't think Jose Mourinho has a clue what he's doing at Manchester United. Sometimes tactically he's got it right, sometimes tactically he's got it wrong. And we've been in a good run of form, before the Manchester City game, but we have rolled our luck because the performances haven't been up to scratch. A style of play, Jose Mourinho's style of play is atrocious. His managerial style is atrocious, and I just don't think he's emulated the football like he did with Chelsea and did with Real Madrid and did with Inter Milan and Porto and all that. And he has got a good pedigree because he has won silverware, everywhere he's been as Jose and Mourinho. But this is our worst start to a season in absolutely donkey's years, especially with Jose and Mourinho. This is our worst start. We didn't even start this bad, as I said, under David Moyes. We didn't even start this bad under Louis van Gaal, obviously, who didn't have a good philosophy as well. But reportedly, Jose Mourinho's looking for central defender in the window. He's looking for an attacker as well. So Jose Mourinho, after the international break, get the players prepared and go with the right team selection. He needs to put Pereira in there, in my opinion. I thought Herrera was diabolical yesterday. I think Ander Herrera has been playing well quite recently. He's been mainly coming on. He's made appearance substitutions this season. He's played the last two games from the start. I thought, to be quite, he's been playing quite well lately, but I thought yesterday he didn't complement the midfield at all well. I thought Herrera was definitely poor yesterday. I thought Lingard, Martial, and Rashford were poor yesterday as well. And why would we park the bus and play defensively against Manchester City? Basically, that's what I basically don't get. Jose Mourinho just at the moment in time just doesn't have the philosophy at Manchester United. Like Jurgen Klopp has a good philosophy in Liverpool, good pedigree with Borussia Dortmund now. He's doing very, very well with Liverpool. He spent just under £400 million, and he's got the team playing right for Liverpool. Same with Pep Guardiola. Good experience with Barcelona and Bayern Munich. Won 24 trophies in his career. Broken records. City got 100 points last season. He's spent £1 billion managerial career, but majority of that has been spent on Manchester City as that money. But we're nowhere near on the same level as City. We're nowhere near on the same level as Liverpool at the moment. We're nowhere near on the same level as Chelsea. We're nowhere near on the likes of the European teams such as Juventus, Real Madrid, and Barcelona and Bayern Munich. We're nowhere near on the same level as them. Back in the day, especially under Fergie, the fantastic team he had, we was definitely on the same level then, but we're not at this moment in time. Because literally we are basically just not good enough, and that's what we've basically got to accept. Defensively problems, that right hand side needs addressing properly, because teams have exploited it far too easily this season. And my opinions at Manchester United at the moment, we're currently sitting 8th in the table, considering the amount of money we've spent, considering the history of this club, the amount of success we've had over years, since when? We lost to his Manchester City yesterday. Since when, especially under the third years, would we ever take a defeat like that? We wouldn't take a punishment like that. If Ferguson was still in charge now, Ferguson would absolutely bring the hairdryer out. It's just basically gone downhill since Fergie retired in 2013. It just hasn't been the same. It didn't work out with David Moyes. The lowest we've ever finished is 7th, and that was under David Moyes. But in his first 12 games, he did better than Mourinho's doing now in his first season. In his first 12 games this season, we've conceded 21 goals so far this season. We've only kept one clean sheet. We've been bad on the road this season. So for me, the players are to blame as well, because I don't think they're potentially playing for Mourinho, because I don't think that they like his style of play, or they don't like his managerial style. And he's just playing some players slightly out of position. Like I said, Ashley Young's been playing on that right back position for me. Ashley Young's mainly a right winger, because for England he plays a right winger. During his Aston Villa days he plays a right winger. It reportedly said earlier on in the press that reportedly he's another player coming to a conclusion of his contract. He said reportedly Manchester United are in discussions of securing him a 1-year extension on his current contract. Same too with Valencia as well. Ashley Young, who's been here since 2011 at Old Trafford, so I think this is now 7th or 8th season now where Man United is Ashley Young, but mainly I think he operates himself as a right winger. Matters a potential number 10 player, as I said. But Ashley Young's basically experienced the good times at United, because he's, as I said, he's won Premier Leagues, he's won everything at Manchester United apart from the Champions League. Is Ashley Young. And for me, he's more of a right winger. Also, Antonio Valencia and Man United are reportedly in talks. Man United are in discussions about signing him a new contract as well. I think the player that's been at Manchester United about a decade now, or something like that. I think we got him from Wigan, was it, in 2009. He's won everything here apart from the Champions League, so he's experienced the fantastic times at United as well. Reportedly, Man United are in discussions of getting him a contract extension for a further year as well. So reportedly, Man United are in discussions with Valencia and Ashley Young about signing them 1 year deals, reportedly in the press, which is a good thing. But for me, basically, Ashley Young, he's been playing right back for quite a few years now. For me, he's more of a right winger, or he's a winner during his Aston Villa days. But obviously, due to Valencia's absence, Ashley Young's playing there, and obviously Doyle can play in that right back position. Obviously, he hasn't had much game time since he's come to United, but obviously Doyle's suffered a knock injury recently as well. But the main part about this video is, according to the Times, the players are frustrated with Jose Mourinho and his tactics and his game plan, and they're also frustrated with Jose Mourinho's reluctance to drop Nemanja Matic, because a lot of United fans want to see Nemanja Matic drop. I thought he started well when he came to United, but I think for 8 months Nemanja Matic has been crap, and I just don't think at all at this moment in time he complements our midfield as well. He was partly to blame yesterday, but Mourinho never said a word about Nemanja Matic in his press conference. He did say something about Fellaini, he'd ruined his game plan. He said we made defensive errors that led to City's 3 goals. He said we won't be relegated. He said Fellaini should have played for the 90 minutes. For me, he shouldn't have started Fellaini. I think he should have started Fred over Fellaini, or maybe even put Pereira in that team. And that's basically what Jose Mourinho basically should have done. So do you think potentially, Jose Mourinho's under a lot of pressure now, before, regardless of the Newcastle result, basically Jose Mourinho's going to get sacked, then was on a good run of form. We was getting wins behind us. Jose Mourinho said he's still convinced, we can get the top 4 by Christmas. He says now we need to go on a winning streak, to try and get into that top 4. It is very, very important that we get in that top 4. We are 7 points behind top 4, which is not looking good. We still got the likes of Arsenal to play and Liverpool to play. I think potentially, Lukaku came on yesterday in the game. For me, potentially £75 million. I thought Lukaku was very, very good last season. He's failed to make an impact this season. He hasn't scored in like 9 or 10 games. He had missed the last 2 previous games before the Manchester City game. Obviously, Lukaku didn't start. He came on as a substitution. He had got us the penalty. But I think everyone talks about him being a good game bottler. I think his first touch is woeful. I think there's no tempos to his play. I think he loses the ball far too easily. I think the difference was yesterday City were just far better than us. They're gelling well together as a team. They've got world-class talent and players in their team. They looked a lot faster on the ball. They're creating a lot of chances. De Gea didn't really have to make any saves, but City, didn't even have to come out second day, and they basically had the best player, essentially the best player in the Premier League for me. Kevin De Bruyne, a great team player, works hard in the midfield for Manchester City. And they're still basically playing very, very well without Kevin De Bruyne. So imagine if Kevin De Bruyne was added in the team. But if you've got, from Manchester United's perspective, if you've got a midfield of Matic and Fellaini, where these attacks supposed to come from, because they're just 2 static midfielders in that midfield. We know we miss Paul Pogba, but for me, I think Mourinho should have definitely put Fred in there. If he'd have tactically got it right and the team didn't perform well, then I'd have blamed the players, and I'd have said Jose Mourinho's got it spot on. But you've seen so many times this season that Jose Mourinho's got it wrong. Why is a £50 million player on the bench? Why ain't he starting Sanchez? We know he hasn't been in great form, but he could have started Sanchez in this game. And why are we parking the bus against a team like Manchester City? Why are we inviting pressure on? And that's what Manchester United shouldn't be doing. And with lots of teams this season, that Manchester United would hardly ever lose to under Fergie. We lost teams under David Moyes that we hadn't lost to for years, and then we'd lost at home as well. Old Trafford's no longer a fortress, as I said. Lots of teams under Van Gaal we shouldn't have lost to. We won't lose under Fergie. Now under Jose Mourinho, we've lost to teams we shouldn't lose to as well. This team, we spent millions and millions of pounds on these players, and they're just not. Is Jose Mourinho, the question, as I said earlier, is Jose Mourinho getting the best out of these players? the players getting the best out of Jose Mourinho. In my opinion, now they're not satisfied with Jose Mourinho with his reluctance to not drop Nemanja Matic. So basically, he's refusing to drop Nemanja Matic for me. Only because Jose Mourinho has a fantastic relationship with Matic. He hasn't spoke about Matic's performance at all. For me, he just really gets on with Nemanja Matic. But we're just going to continue playing bad if we keep playing Nemanja Matic week in, week out. And we've got to drop Nemanja Matic and put Pereira in there, Fred in there, or even probably Fellaini in there. Drop Fellaini in the big games, but maybe in like a Burnley game or the King Watford game, probably put Fellaini in there, bring Fred on as a substitution. This is Mourinho should know this team now. This is his third season now at the club. It's not like a new era to him. He should know this team now. He should know how to tactically get it right. He should have a good game plan. He should have a good plan B, and he hasn't got either of those as Jose Mourinho. Reportedly, he's going to get around £100 million spending spree in January. We could see players leaving January, especially because we've got a catalogue of players that are coming to them in the deals. As I just said, Man United are in talks of getting Ashley Young a new deal and Valencia another one-year deal as well. So both players could be on the brink of signing another one-year contract extension at the club. They've been here a lot of years now, these players, so they've experienced the good times. And these players that are coming to end their deals want to be up there competing, want to be getting more silverware on the board. But United fans are talking about, Manchester City now taking over because they've spent a lot of money, they're hard to beat now, they've got world-class players, but look at the history, based on the history, Manchester United, 20 titles all in all, Manchester City, I think 4 or 5, Manchester United, 3 Champions Leagues, Manchester City none, but that's history now, that's basically irrelevant, we know, that's irrelevant now. History doesn't mean now. It's now what basically matters because we know we haven't got Fergie anymore. The fear factor's not there. And since he's gone, Manchester United just haven't been the same team as he has said. So we know that Mourinho's missed out on a lot of potential targets. Reportedly, it's just said in the press as well that Mourinho's looking to sanction off Eric Bailly and Marcus Rojo in January to basically invest some money into the club and get a new and get a new centre half. So basically, Bailey, who's been here since like 2015-16, we got him with Villarreal for 30 million. He has suffered from injury problems as Bailey since he's come to Old Trafford. He's only scored 1 goal in the Premier League since he's come to the club. He's only made 7 appearances, I think, this season. It talks that AC Milan were interested in him the other week. AC Milan were reportedly interested in the player. Eric Bailly, but potentially Mourinho, if he is to sell it, sanction him off, he'd want to cash in for him in January rather than let him go on the free next summer. Eric Bailly. You've also got reportedly Marcus Rojo. Reportedly Jose Mourinho's looking to sanction him off as well. But Jose Mourinho's been interested in a few central defenders. He's been interested in Boateng. He's been interested in Toby Alderweireld, Harry Maguire, the Inter Milan fullback, Nathan Ike's now being mentioned. He's attracted the interest from quite a lot of clubs such as City, United and Tottenham, as Nathan Ike. Reason up the ranks with Chelsea. To be fair, he's played very, very well for Bournemouth this season as Nathan Ike. He's played very, very well for them. He was good with Watford and Reading. Watford Young Player of the Season. He won Chelsea Young Player of the Year as well. Did Nathan Ike. I think he's made 91 appearances in the Premier League. He scored 7 goals. He can play as a centre back. He can play as a left back as well. So he would be ideal to come to Manchester United. I think Bournemouth him at around about £40 million. So partly there's been discussions about that as well. Reportedly Paul Pogba as well. Reportedly he could potentially leave in January. Accordingly, I can't see Man United willing to sanction him off. As I said, he missed the Manchester derby at the weekend. He hasn't really made an impact since he's come to Manchester United. I don't think he's really used to the Premier League. I think he did fantastic in Serie A with Juventus because Juventus are potentially the best team in Italy. Juventus, he made 179 appearances there for like 4 or 5 years. Won loads of honours with them. Manchester United paid £89 million for him. There's been rumours stemming from the press that Juventus are willing to offer one of their 3 players for Paul Pogba to return back to Juventus as well. So there has been talks about that. There's been talks about a lot of Manchester United fans want Sanchez out. Sanchez has only been at this club since January. As I said, involved in a swap deal with Mkhitaryan. Hasn't really made an impact since he's come. He's only scored 4 goals since he's come. He's on $500,000 a week. He's Alexis Sanchez. Um, but I don't think he really. He's a versatile player. He can play numerous positions, but he mainly operates himself in that number 7 role. Good in his Arsenal days. Good with underneath. Good with Barcelona, especially alongside David Villa and Lionel Messi. But since he's come to United, he really hasn't made an impact. PSG have been linked with him. They were linked to him last year. Also, Man City were linked with him. But obviously, Pep Guardiola was reluctant to pay the £500,000 a week he was demanding. Man United are currently paying him this £500,000 a week now, but he could initially leave in January or next summer. Could Alexis Sanchez? He may not, but the narrative about it is that a lot of Manchester United fans want to see him leave because he hasn't really made an impact since he's come to the club as well. With so. But as I said, with the Jose Mourinho position, he said reportedly now the body backing him all of a sudden. He was under pressure before the Newcastle game, going back to the results this season. He's under service. The board are now backing him. Reportedly, talks are going ahead for January. But for me, I don't think the board should be backing Jose Mourinho at this moment in time because he's tactically getting it wrong. He's not playing some players in right positions. He tactically got it wrong against Manchester City on Sunday. He got it wrong against Juventus in the Champions League in the home game when we lost 1-0 and was totally dominated from minute first to 90 minutes. He had no plan B. Where was his substitution? Where was his inspiration in that game? He didn't have any. And Jose Mourinho, in my opinion, should have played Fred at the weekend. That's basically my opinion. So Mourinho has got to change his style of play. He's got to change his tactic, and he's got to get the team selection right for Crystal Palace as well. Because we're definitely not title contenders this season. We're 7 points behind top 4. We've still got Arsenal, Liverpool to play yet. Don't forget. But for me, Nemanja Matic needs to be definitely dropped in the squad. This is coming from the Times. Reportedly, with Jose Mourinho's reluctance to drop Nemanja Matic because a lot of Manchester United fans and some of the players want to see him dropped out of the Manchester United squad. He's the one causing a lot of the problems at the moment. So I'd put someone else in there. I'd give Pereira the chance. Maybe, put Fred in there or maybe even Fellaini in there, as we spoke about. But Jose Mourinho, for me, this squad, the money that's being put into this side is good enough at least for the top 4 this season. The expectation levels with Jose Mourinho when he got appointed the manager, considering his history and considering Manchester United's history and considering Mourinho's history, as I just said, the expectation board would have been Jose Mourinho win the Premier League title or at least be up there competing, and we haven't done either of those so far since Mourinho's come to the club. He's only got 3 trophies on the board at the moment, but with a team like this, back in the Fergie days when we had all them fantastic players, we won Premier Leagues, won FA Cups, won League Cups under Alex Ferguson especially. One year there was playing on stages, the team that we had under Alex Ferguson, but we know this team's totally comparison. This team's totally different to the team Alex Ferguson, as I said. There's still some of the players here what Alex Ferguson had. I think Valencia's 33, Ashley Young's 33. But Romelu Lukaku, for me, I think potentially Man United could, have had great strikers over the years. But for me, Lukaku, very well last season. For me, his first touch is woeful. He is a big game bottler. He hasn't been on form this season. So Martial, Rashford and Sanchez midweek had fulfilled his spot. Martial's still in fantastic form. Fair play to him, he's still got his name on the score sheet against Manchester City from the penalty spot. So he's that now 5 goals in 6 games. He's another player coming to an end of his deal, is Antonio Martial. Reportedly, it said in the press the other day he was going to be Man United willing to offer him 45 million a year. Also willing to offer him a 5-year contract. Reportedly, based on his performances, he's been recalled back into the France squad. According to the BBC's agent and representative, been discussions about Martial getting a new contract. He currently turned down the previous contract offer. Mourinho wants Martial to stay at Old Trafford. I think Martial, from his own perspective, wants to stay at Old Trafford as well. But he's still got a lot of years ahead of him, Martial, and so too has Rashford, who's been at Manchester United. He's been here since 7 years old. He's up the ranks in the academy at 7 year old, and they've got young talent and great experience, and they have got time to win the Premier League or Champions League with Manchester United. But under Jose Mourinho, with the way it's going at the moment, this is third season. I doubt that's going to happen with Jose Mourinho in charge, and I don't blame the criticism he's getting from a lot of fans. We should be up there competing, no matter money we spent. And for me, we could definitely see a few players leave in January. But as this squad is alone now, this squad is good enough, to at least get the top four this season. We've got Crystal Palace after the international break. I presume we should beat them. Young boys in the Champions League, which will beat them. That will be qualification for the knockout stages, which is very, very important. But we know there's been talks about, Conte coming in to replace Mourinho. Zinedine Zidane had been mentioned a month or so ago. He'd been in discussions with his representatives about coming to managing English football. After having a fantastic pedigree with Juventus and Real Madrid, Zinedine Zidane never had any experience of managing English football, though. Conte's had experience managing English football because he won the title and FA Cup with Chelsea. He played for Juventus in when he was playing football. He managed Juventus, won honours with them, also managed Atlanta as well. He's had a talent and managed Italy as well. So there has been talks about that. If Jose Mourinho was to get the sack, who would you like to see coming? Potentially Jose Mourinho does get the sack. I still think, presumably, he will be here at the end of the season, regardless of what happens. But if we don't get top four this season, I think Mourinho definitely will be out of the door completely. So basically now Manchester United cannot afford any more losses. That means City will go further ahead because they're just basically unstoppable. I can't think of any team that can stop them at the moment. Maybe Liverpool could, maybe Chelsea could, but I think City are just far too strong. And, top four as well, if Tottenham, keep winning, we're going to go further behind and we don't get decent results. So basically, don't know what else to say in the current process. But if you've been online reading about Manchester United, if you have read the press, it said the players are frustrated with Mourinho. They're frustrated with his reluctance to drop Nemanja Matic. I want to see Nemanja Matic dropped. I really do want to see Nemanja Matic dropped. Mourinho should have put Pereira. He could put Pereira in his position. He could put Fellaini in his position. And he could put Fred in his position. So there's three choices there. That three of them players you could put in Nemanja Matic's position. One of those three players you could put in Nemanja Matic's position. So for me, Matic needs to be dropped. Matic and Fellaini in that midfield with Herrera, there is no midfield. If you put Pogba, Fred and Herrera in the midfield, it's a pretty decent midfield. If you put Pogba, Pereira and Fred in the midfield, it's a decent midfield. If you put Pogba, Herrera and Fellaini midfield, it's a fairly decent midfield. But I think with Matic and Fellaini in the midfield, it's a very, very static midfield indeed. And defensively, then we need to address them defensive problems because we've only kept one clean sheet season. For me, Romelu Lukaku, I think we could have potentially got a better number 9. I think Morata would have been ideal. He's at Chelsea, doing very, very well. I'd have loved Morata. As an attacking wise, I think Icardi's a very, very good player. I think he'd do well at Manchester United. Aubameyang, I'd have loved him at Manchester United. Very good in the air, good two-footed player, fantastic finisher. Very, very good at Manchester United again. Likes of Lewandowski, another good number 9. I'd love players like that to come to Manchester United. I think Lukaku was on form last season. This season, he hasn't been on form at all, but Mourinho was convinced a few weeks back that the goals would come from Romelu Lukaku. So I just don't basically know. So anyway, guys, I'd like to know your opinions on this. Drop your comments live below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe to the channel, tell me your opinions on this situation. Do you think Nemanja Matic should be dropped? Yes. There's been talks that Manchester United look better without Lukaku. There's been talks that Man United will they look better without Nemanja Matic in that midfield. Herrera, who hasn't started much from the starting 11 this season, to be fair, he has been playing well recently. As I said yesterday, he wasn't that good at all. He's also another player coming to an end of his deal. And Man United reportedly are going to be in talks of securing him a new deal under Herrera, the player that's been here since 2014 as well. He played more regularly under Louis van Gaal did Herrera, to be quite fair. But I think he complements our midfield Herrera if Pogba and Fred's in that mid, or if Pogba and Pereira there, or Pogba and Fred. I think he'd complement that midfield well, Herrera, but I think in a midfield three when he's playing alongside Pogba and not Pogba, when he's playing alongside Fellaini and Matic, I think he looks very, very static in that midfield alongside Mourinho and Fellaini and Nemanja Matic as well. So for me, Jose Mourinho's got to change. Where's his inspiration? You know, he doesn't know how to change a game of football at this moment in time. He got it right against Juventus midweek. That was a lucky win. Let's not get too excited about that. That is a lucky win. 2 set pieces. The first goal, brilliant for Mata. The second goal, very, very lucky indeed. And why would we play defensively against Manchester City? You know, when we had Alex Ferguson, you know, we won 18 of our 32 Premier League games against Manchester City. We had a great record over them. But basically, we've had a glimpse of the third days lately of the comebacks that we've been doing recently, the late goals. And Manchester City, I was slightly confident we could have got a result against Manchester City, you know, if we'd have gone attackively instead of defensively. I thought we might have had a chance, but, you know, City this season, attackingly very, very good, scoring goals for fun, defensively absolutely phenomenal. They've only leaked 5 goals in the Premier League this season. And, you know, these teams like City, Chelsea, Liverpool haven't even conceded half the goals that Manchester United have conceded this season. So, as I said, I'm going to get off now. I'm going to bed. I'm tired. I'm going to college in the morning. There will be more live videos coming up soon. So anyway, guys, that's everything today. Drop your comments, like below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe, and more live videos will be coming up very, very soon. Take care. Bye.